reception.
Check my band.
I
It's
do.
not there.
You feel like you need to document your person and your family.
I do, I need my agents on this cell phone. He seriously, he had a phone, said, he needs a car, stuck it in, but is that mine? I'm like, not really.
Yeah,
It doesn't leave the house.
I gotta finish paying off my phone and unlock it and then never do another contract.
I found really good luck buying unlocked phones on Amazon.
Yeah.
Cause my
That's
husband,
great, it's all, it's unlocked. I don't know, this was such a cheap price.
he
I
would
couldn't have
wash
done
his,
this.
two of his smartphones went through the wash, one met with a hammer. He's in carpentry, one he stuck in his pouch, they brought, and the nails got.
You don't really
I'm
run
like,
with
dude, you just, so we just buy used.
6 o'clock.
phones for safe.
All set?
Sorry. Yeah, I thought you were waiting.
Good evening. Welcome to the October 16th regular meeting of the Lyman Board of Selectmen. This meeting is a public proceeding and is being recorded. Would you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Unfortunately, our chair is not here tonight, so we have me again to chair the meeting. And Jessica had a family emergency, so she will not be available tonight. So
Brakes are on.
breaks on.
Yeah, I can't roll.
All right, we'll get right to the agenda. No special offers or presentations. So we go to public input. So you have 5 minutes to address the board. Please use the podium to address the board. And do you have anything they'd like to?
Joe Wagner said he will be back for the next meeting. He won't be here for his 5 minutes this time.
Okay. Okay, moving right along. Mail. We have one here from the County Commissioners of County of York, and they have been honored to announce their committee has been selected by us to be awarded the Spirit of America Award for 2023, and they're going to have an award ceremony to the winners of the award November 15th.
Did you mention who that was for?
No, he didn't.
York County Commissioner.
That's who it's from.
Oh, that's who it's from. Yeah, it's for the Lyman Cemetery Committee.
Oh, I
They're being
apologize.
recognized. I think it's really exciting.
Yes,
Where does it say that?
It gives me a
it's
huge warm
it's
fuzzy.
made out Lyman
Oh,
Cemetery
my
Committee.
apologies.
Dear,
I
yeah.
saw that I went for the top of it. Oh, Lyman Cemetery.
Yes.
I love
Okay.
that.
Thank you for correcting me.
Yeah. Well, I was very like when I saw it, I was like, oh, this is so nice.
Yeah.
So I
No, that
was
is
like,
great.
wait, did I not hear it? So,
They've
yeah.
done a heck of a service to this town.
Yeah, they have.
And I remember the meeting when Mr. Nettle came and said he dug some things up and on his property when he was excavating, and that actually started the ball rolling. And we formed the cemetery committee back then, and I think it's tremendous what they've done.
Yep.
GPS coordinating everything, that's what a godsend that is.
There's an award ceremony November 15th
At 3:30.
at 3:30,
It's gonna
should
be
anybody
York
want
County
to go.
Government Building.
Yes.
Right out of the gate, I mess it up.
Well, I was like, wait, was I reading and I didn't hear
I just
him
thought
say
I-
Lyman Cemetery Committee?
See,
I
that's
didn't.
why, for not being able to see my packet beforehand, because I don't have my laptop, it's under repair. Okay. Thank you for keeping me in line.
I'll do my best.
All right. Minutes, review and approval of the minutes from last meeting.
So I'll make a motion to approve to approve it to get to discussion. There's some things.
Wow.
Well, I'll second the motion.
Gonna be a lot of that tonight.
Perhaps. What-
Discussion?
Yeah, so, and I know that the minutes are only like the what's going on, not word for word, but in reading about the special presentation wherein Tony recommends adding in language, it says adding in language to the ordinance defining cities, video service providers. But I thought he had said to the franchise agreement. And I just wanted to make that change so that nobody could come back later on and be like, this is what it said in the minutes. And
We could do both. I heard ordinance, but, because I followed up with him and he gave me the revised language, which is, I put in the ordinance, it's on the agenda tonight. So you
okay,
guys can go over that, but we won't be getting to the franchise agreement quite yet anyway. So when we get there, we can look in that. I don't have the agreement in front of me, but,
okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
I mean, I'd be open to doing both, CYA, you know?
yes,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
what I'm interested in. And then just on the last page 4, Victoria's name in section
Voc.
C.
Victoria?
I like that though.
My new name,
Oh,
yes. I can't say it very well.
Do you want it changed in the minutes or?
If you guys sign them, I just make a little edit,
Okay.
and sometimes I can do it right in PDF. It's easier.
Okay. All right. Any more discussion?
No, sir.
That's all I
All in
have.
favor?
Aye.
There we go. Okay, payroll warrant number 15 in the amount of $27,699.23.
I will make the motion to accept the payroll warrant 15 in the amount of $27,699.23.
Second the motion.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Accounts payable warrant number 14 for fiscal year 2024 in the amount of $45,778.25. It's a rather mild one this time.
Yes.
I'd move that for the same reason as the first warrant for discussion.
I'll second that motion.
I have a question, if maybe you guys can answer this. There's a couple of times that there's TRF personal protect gear in here on the invoice. And I was just curious what that is. I know it's a supply of personal protect gear. I mean,
It might
It's-
be, I can double check with Jeanette, but I'm thinking it's probably transfer station, because we just ordered them like jackets and like the
Oh, that must be it then.
sweaters with the flare and stuff, so like you can see them. And
Yeah, I know that
and we get
the
them gloves and stuff so that
150-31, that is transfer station,
Okay, thank you.
so. And I would like to point out too, for municipal solid waste for this month, $11,676.86. Recycling, $556.65. So.
Right.
Big difference.
I still recycled.
Okay, all in favor?
I,
Okay. Review planning board bylaws. Dawn, come on up.
My name's Don Hernan, planning board member, also Kevin Vayu. I'll get it sometime, but maybe not. I hope to. Okay, what I'd like to do, I don't know if you want to do this or not, but the planning board sent minutes to the select board asking for them to review and give us comments, probably unfortunate wording, but you did. Thank you. You actually gave us some good comments, actually. Not that you haven't in the past, but actually nobody has in the past, so that's okay. Anyway,
thanks
So-
for clarifying.
yeah. What might be productive, if you want to take a minute, it won't take very long. I sent out an email with the planning board bylaws, August of 2023, that showed the changes from the previous version. And then I think you guys reviewed and commented on that, have your comments. And you didn't have that many comments, but I think they could quickly go down and cover those if you want to do that. If you don't want to do that, okay.
Nope, let's hear it.
Okay, so let me just go through it and and then my purpose of doing this would be to then hopefully modify these bylaws and present them to the planning board on Wednesday and see if they want to vote on them or not. Vote on the changes to them. I don't think there's that many changes, but you might not agree. So
Okay.
can we march through these?
Yeah.
Okay, the first comment you said was about section 1.4 bias. And there was an issue there about the current reading says the board refers to the planning board, should refer allegations of bias in executive session, blah, blah, blah. That is correct. I think we should change that should review allegations of bias in open session, period, and just delete the part about executive session. So that was a good catch. Well, not a catch, but a good comment. The next one is under Article 2, 2.1 membership. There was a question there about reference to the LZO, which is the Lyman zoning ordinance, section 8.2.3. And the issue there is that the way the zoning ordinance reads, it says, and this is, remember, please, that the zoning ordinance is voted on by the voters. So it's not something that we came up with. Well, maybe in the past, but it's been approved by the voters. So it has some validity, of course. And it says under 8.2.3 of the zoning ordinance, vacancies on the board, referring to the planning board, shall be filled by advertising for new members. And then it says the board shall review all applications and make a recommendation on new members to the Board of Selectmen. So the reference to, in the bylaws to LZO 8.2.3 is a valid reference. I don't see any reason to change that. It's not saying, because the select board under the charter has the authority to appoint members to the planning board, so you're not losing any authority. However, it does say in the ordinance, which was again approved by the voters, that the planning board should review or shall review all applications and make a recommendation on new members to the Board of Selectmen. So that has some weight, in my opinion. In the past, that's what we've done on the planning board, and it seemed to have worked out pretty well. So I don't see where we need to change the bylaws, because they just basically just referenced. I don't see any conflict there, is my point.
I have a comment. So the new charter says that recruiting volunteers is through the current hiring process in our personnel policy. And we created an interim hiring process for volunteers. Also, at the ORC meeting in July 20th, yourself and Joe Wagner were present at that meeting. And I made a similar argument with something else on the LZO. And you guys challenged me that the charter preceded the Lyman zoning ordinance. You both challenged me on it. Joe
true.
brought it up on his phone, brought up
true.
state statute and everything. So I was like, all right, that's fine. So I'm just going by, charter precedes the zoning ordinance, which is what you guys agreed to on that day. And then the charter says we recruit volunteers by the hiring process. And we have a hiring volunteer process.
Well, my point is, I don't see a conflict. You go out and recruit volunteers for the planning board. The ordinance says that the planning board shall review all these applications and make a recommendation. I don't see any conflict because the Board of Select Persons can then accept or reject the recommendations from the planning board.
Another thing to consider though, like the board does not get any of the applications for our committees. I summarize them and give the board my recommendations. So why would the planning board get access to confidential records that the select board doesn't have access to?
Well, all I can say is in the past, and again, it's in the ordinance that it's worked very well for, and I don't see a conflict there personally. And I mean, I can understand what you're saying. I'm just saying that I don't agree with you because I don't see a conflict here.
I want to protect people's confidentiality when people submit a application for volunteering on a committee. It's just like if you put in an application for a job interview, it's confidential until the board appoints that person to their position. So I don't feel comfortable giving the planning board like confidential information. And I've seen in the past, there was conflicts on committees when they knew, okay, there's an applicant that the board's reviewing, but we don't know who it is. And there was some contention towards who might that be and what can we do to prevent them from being on the committee, or, and the discussion was, let's just make them an alternate and then they can't vote. And so I'm trying to make this an equal opportunity for everybody. And, and I've taken consideration from boards and committees and just things that I've observed. I do agree, the Lyman zoning ordinance is something that the voters voted on, but there's some conflict there. So
Well,
And I think the key word, Dawn, here is the past. It's worked in the past, and we're trying to bring it forward in the new methodology and what have you. I mean, when we hired, when they were hired for the transfer station, employees up there, Lindsay had gone through the hiring process with that up there. We were,
Right.
it worked well, compared to what we've done in the past, and it was so cumbersome.
well, I've been on the hiring committee, so I know a little bit about that. I've
Exactly.
been on the planning board since 08.
Yep.
Know a little bit about that. But my point would be is you got an ordinance here that was voted on by the voters. It's very specific. There's a process to change that ordinance. My thought is you should follow what the ordinance says until the ordinance is changed.
do you follow what the charter says? or
And
what
I don't see the
ordinance
conflict. You say there's a conflict. I don't see the conflict
says?
because
The charter says that volunteers are recruited by the hiring process. We have a hiring
Right.
process.
and the hiring process doesn't talk about this, but it ought to because it's in the ordinance. It was voted on by the voters.
So
If you want to just say, no, forget it, that's fine. I can't top you, but I'm just saying I don't agree with it.
Okay.
I mean,
So
that's
at
my
the-
2 cents.
I just for me, it's like, okay, on July 20th, and I did not watch, I'm guessing the 57:45 is the time at the meeting at which this is taking place. Okay, I did not watch it. But if you're at an ORC meeting and
Mhm.
you're saying, you're making a compelling argument that the municipal charter supersedes the LZO.
Well, it does. I don't see the conflict here because you're saying there's a conflict. Lindsay's saying there's a conflict. My point is this. The select board of the town manager goes out and asks for volunteers for the planning board. The planning board has the opportunity to review the applicants. We've done this in the past. It's worked out very well. Yes, there was at least one applicant where the planning board voted not to have that person on the planning board. And there were some reasons for that. I'm not going to go into that. And I think it was a valuable service. But if I'm just saying that you got something that was voted on by the voters and you should,
The charter
The
was voted
charter
on by
was,
the
yes.
voters also.
I know, but I don't see the conflict between the charter and the zoning ordinance. Now, maybe there is a conflict. I don't see it personally.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
It seems to me that it's different. The ordinance says one thing and the charter says something else. So we either need to choose one to follow or amend, get the
I-
people to amend the other one so that it makes sense to be the same.
Yes, and I am in agreement with that. My point is, for me, what my mind says is like, okay, if we have two members of our planning board at this meeting on July 20th, and they're making this argument that the charter supersedes the LZO, why are we having this discussion? Let's just make 2.1 read, appointments to the board are to be made by the town manager with the concurrence of the select board in accordance with the Town of Lyman Municipal Charter.
I'll take your comment.
Thank you.
Okay, next item. This was under, let me see, what is this? This would be section 3.4. There's a question there about the secretary being, really, there's several questions here about the secretary, but this one in particular, under 3.4, it says the secretary is responsible for all minutes and records of the board, notices of meetings and hearings and correspondence of the board. And the point was that that is responsibility of the position called admin CEO, which is when I was on the hiring committee, when we went out to get applicants for that position, and the position actually was admin CEO, but also it was for planning board clerk, was an auxiliary duty. So my comment would be on that one, just change that to say the secretary is responsible to coordinate all minutes and records of the board, notices of meetings, blah, 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 with the administrative CEO. In other words, there was an issue about responsibility there. And I would say to the town manager, the planning board, in my opinion, has no desire to write the minutes and do all the records for the planning board. That is at least a half-time job, in my opinion. Haven't done it for a while when we didn't have an administrative assistant to the CEO. And the CEO has the functions that the CEO does. The CEO does not comment on, or has not been commenting, to my knowledge, on the planning board minutes and that kind of thing. So I just think we could change that wording there and keep the secretary as responsible for coordinating the minutes and the records with the administrative CEO, whatever, or the correct terminology for that position. So any comments or questions? Can I move to another one?
The CEO's jobs, well, I guess it used to be, before you had an admin CEO, it was the CEO in their job description to do the minutes, and then they got the admin, so they can also, they still have that in their job description, but they have authority over that other position. So I just want, I'm fine with like a secretary being an interim if like somebody's out or they want to step in, like Dawn has helped out before when there wasn't anybody in that office.
Mhm.
But it was confusing because it says in one section and then you
Yep.
go to another and it talks about
Yep.
the planning board clerk doing it.
So
So
the
We'll get to that.
admin to CEO is Julie. Okay. And I want to look to you, and, since you are the head of that department.
I think part of her job description is planning board clerk.
Yeah,
So I think I would rather have
it referred to the planning board clerk than the administration CEO, administrative CEO, because it is kind of two different functions. And I agree that if Julie had a question about some of the records, it would be the board secretary that she would go to for clarification. So I think that relationship is important to be addressed. So Julie is the recording secretary. The planning board member would be, I don't know, your executive secretary, I don't know. So it really is two different functions.
Well, I mean, right now we're reviewing job descriptions and personnel policies and whatnot, and so we do have like heads of departments, and so when I look at a head of department, I see them as the overseer of whoever's underneath them. So it's admin CEO. So I don't know, I don't wanna make it confusing for employees, like you are guided to this one for this and that one for that. We try to like streamline it.
So is that something between you and,
We're still reviewing job descriptions, so, and I don't want to, the bylaws are for the conduct of planning board meetings and planning board members.
Yep.
So if it starts getting outside the realm and we're getting into job descriptions and what we're gonna put in personnel policy, it has nothing to do with planning board bylaws.
I
So
agree.
think those things are just.
Yep.
kind of-
Well, just tell me
But
what
I like,
term you want me to put in there and I'll put it in.
yeah, I like that there's some communication between the board and the admin CEO, and I just think if we clarify that, that'd be fine.
okay,
Okay, but my proposed wording was the secretary, referring to the planning board secretary, is responsible to coordinate blah, 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 with, I said admin CEO, but if I would have preferred to say the planning board clerk, but that terminology that's not apparently a position in the town now. I don't know if it is or it isn't, but that was the impression I got from the comments.
well, I think that's something between Brenda and.
Well, anyway.
They can get back to you.
Be happy to put in the right terminology.
Yep, that's
Okay.
great. Nope.
Next, 3.7, vacancies of officers will be filled using normal election procedures. Now, this is talking about vacancies of the 3 members of the planning board who are officers, the chairman, the vice chairman, and the secretary. So I don't see anything wrong with that 3.7 as written. I think the comment was something about the select board is the appointing authority. And I would say that the select board appoints members to the planning board. The select board does not elect the chairman or designate the chairman, the vice chairman, or the secretary. So I think that's perfectly good as written, 3.7. You see my point? Or,
I see your point, but I think it's poorly written.
well, I mean, I'm looking for some wording,
Well,
remember,
the
we're
way
not-
the way I read it was a vacancy that we need to replace.
No,
someone.
No, I
no,
think
no.
that goes back to 2.5 for me. When there is a permanent vacancy on the board, the chair shall request a motion to move the senior alternate to fill the vacancy, and the board shall vote on the same. That is in the charter of how those vacancies are supposed to be filled.
No, but the board, we're talking about, which board? We're talking about the planning
Well,
board.
these are your bylaws, so I
Yes,
would
that's right.
imagine that the board in
Is
here
the board, is the
yes.
planning board,
So
yeah.
is the planning board. But
So what's wrong with 3.7 as written? Nothing,
I
in my
didn't,
opinion.
We
That-
just didn't understand what of officers meant.
Oh.
So maybe some clarification on, now that you've clarified, you're talking about chair, vice chair, secretary.
Yeah, it's not clear.
Wait a minute, no, it is, because you got to look at 3.1. It says the officers of the board shall consist of the chair, the vice chair, and the secretary. So,
So just refer to 3.1 for officers or something.
okay, all right, fine. Fine, got you.
And going back to Amber's thing, I don't know if that's on.
yeah, I was going to bring that up at the end. but-
Okay, let me continue if you would. Or can I? May I? May I?
Okay.
Sure.
Okay, Article 5. I was going to change that terminology to, right now it reads, planning board clerk describes the duties of the planning board clerk. Okay, well, I was going to make that read, planning board administration, take the word clerk out, and then say 5.1, and I was going to say it, the admin CEO, but whatever the correct terminology is from the job description that the town has approved, that person, referring to it, provides admin support to the board, which is correct, and then say, and in coordination with the secretary is responsible for blah, 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 blah. Taking out the words under the supervision of the secretary, which was from the town manager inappropriate, since the supervision of the employees is not a function of the planning board. So if you don't have a problem with that, I'll just change the wording there. And then also the word clerk is used 3 or 4 times and change the word clerk to whatever the correct terminology is, either admin, CEO, or planning board clerk, if that still is appropriate. Okay?
Yeah, I think that
Yep.
makes sense.
Okay, and
Oh, hold on.
What?
I don't think that the admin CEO, that position in its own standing alone has nothing to do with the planning board. And technically,
that's right.
I don't have much to do with the planning.
But you provide a lot of guidance.
Well, I mean, as land use director, I do.
Right,
But CEO, I don't. So I believe that the planning board clerk should be the term that's used throughout that document.
Nicely stated, I agree with you,
So we don't have.
but I'm
job
not sure everybody else
descriptions-
does.
Hold on.
We don't have job descriptions separated out like that. So for CEO, it is in your job description to be land use director. So I mean, I would rather have one job description and there, whatever falls under that umbrella is the duties of that position. Because otherwise now we're talking about one person fulfilling multiple job descriptions. Why not just condense them into one? We can call it whatever we want. But it's called admin CEO, and I believed it was, when it was originally created, was because you guys at the board at the time was told when somebody was filling in for the CEO, they said, oh, they really need an assistant. So you guys had created an administrative assistant position, and the name admin CEO came up. So we can change that while I'm doing the job descriptions, but I mean, I'm gonna make one job description for the position, and whatever duties fall in that, if it's, provides assistance to the planning board, then that's what's gonna fall in that. But, yeah.
I'm not suggesting that they be broken away, because I think most of us have, our job descriptions are this/this. They don't stand alone. It's part of the whole package. And I think Julie's package is assistant to me and board clerk. So really, when she's acting as board clerk, I don't mean she's outside of CEO because I am her supervisor, but I just don't care to see that term in there. I think it's the board clerk, which is part of her job description. It I believe, doesn't stand alone.
Yeah.
I don't really see it's a matter to like nitpick it. I mean, a job description's a job, it's whatever.
So
Term you want it to
admin
be.
CEO to CEO, if that is a position,
I mean, that's what it's
that's
been
what
labeled.
came years
And
ago
so-
under another board.
Right, like I'm updating job descriptions now, and so it'll be up to the town manager to create all the duties that fall under that, and all I'm looking for is clarity. So when I read the bylaws and it says planning board clerk, if I didn't know any better, if I didn't work with Brenda or Julie, I might not know what planning board clerk is. Because we don't have it anywhere on our website, we don't have it listed anywhere. But it may be listed in that person's job description. So we can call it whatever we want. I just wanted it to be kind of consistent and not have to like reinvent everything.
I think this goes back to
think
where we
that
started with the job
makes-
descriptions way back when to try to clarify this. So it's a point well taken, Don.
Well, I just want to just give me the right term, okay? That'd be nice.
We're gonna work on it,
I like
Okay.
the collaborate, what did you say, coordinates? with the
coordinate,
secretary?
collaborate.
In coordination with.
Right.
Okay, I can move on? Shall I move on? You ready?
Yeah.
Okay, 5.2, the whatever, clerk, admin, CEO, shall maintain approved copies of the board bylaws and mission statement, period, and delete. I see, wait a minute, that's wrong, okay. There was a question about, and reports to the Board of Selectmen. First of all, it should have been Select Board, but that should have, I think that refers to periodic reports, like which the planning board, I don't think has been doing, but there's another point, to the select board. In other words, the charter says, I believe, that the town boards and committees will provide monthly reports to the town manager upon request. I think it says upon request. So you could read that sentence two ways. One way you could read it that the clerk or the admin CEO reports to the Board of Selectmen, and that's the part I was going to say get rid of, but actually it should read really. I think the reading originally was supposed to say and reports, basically keeping approved copies of three things: the bylaws, the emission statement, and periodic reports to the select board. So maybe I should
Why
just,
not just take that out of there and they maintain the approved copies of these documents.
well, that's what what do you mean? Would you please state what you're saying?
The clerk shall maintain approved copies of the board bylaws, mission statement, and mission statement, period.
Yeah.
I mean, it's going to be probably it'll be probably, as we develop personnel policies and job descriptions, stuff will be filtered in there.
Well, you understand that I was referring to periodic reports to the Board of
Yeah.
Selectmen, like quarterly reports or something?
And that's fine, but I would just, again, if it doesn't.
If you want to take it out, take it out. Okay, fine. Moving along. 6.2, I agree that should probably go out of there. That says the board may obtain goods and services it finds necessary to properly perform its function within the limits of appropriations made for that purpose. That's been in the bylaws since, I got some comments, but it was for a long time, shall I say. And I don't think it necessarily serves anything. I mean, I don't think it hurts anything to stay in there, but there was a question about it. I'm not sure exactly what the question was.
Okay.
If you want to take it out, take it out. I don't care. I mean, I think it should take it out. Okay. Now, the next one, not much left. Was under 7.1. The question was, on the first sentence, is regular meetings are to be held, blah, blah, blah. Board meetings are held at the town office or another suitable meeting place. Okay, I was going to add in there, since there was a question about what that meant, e.g., which means, for example, town library, GMFR, or another town property with sufficient meeting space. The only time that in my memory, which is questionable sometimes, but that we had a meeting other than at the town hall was a public hearing that was on a contentious project. And we had it was during COVID, so it made it a lot of fun. I think it was during COVID. But anyway, we had a meeting at the fire station, and it was in the fire truck bays. And because of COVID, the meeting was pretty well filled up. It was over 60 people, or maybe more than that, maybe 100. But anyway, fire department provided chairs. They were very helpful, et cetera, et cetera. But then he said, well, anyway, you got all these people here. We got to get some ventilation. So they opened the doors, which was wonderful, except that it was the middle of February. And this meeting, unfortunately, went on.
Unfortunately, it wasn't.
And on.
It wasn't because of ventilation.
No, I
It was
don't.
occupancy.
Occupancy. Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, occupancy. But in any case, what I'm saying is that's the only meeting I know of that we've ever had other than in the town hall. And that would be a reason to have one, because you couldn't fit everybody in here. And we suspected that since the public hearing was generating a lot of interest, that we'd get a lot of people. So we asked the fire department ahead of time, said, hey, if we have to, can we move the meeting over there? And we did. And I think I stayed over here for a while to make sure people understood the meeting had been moved. So, I mean, I'd be happy to put in some words in here, but I think there is a very slim possibility that occasionally meetings would have to go out of the town hall.
I thought we talked about this at the last meeting. We came up with we were going to come up with a list of what suitable, what a suitable place is, and said, try to avoid somebody's home or something like that. So maybe we can, if we don't have it yet.
I mean, is it 3 as a quorum for a planning board?
Yeah.
Okay, so I mean, I just wouldn't there could be a fresh new board someday, and maybe they take it to the next level and they think, well, 3 of us are here on Annie Mae's house or something, but, so just, yeah.
So why don't we
could talk
say
about-
something to the effect, if we come up with this list, it shouldn't take that, their town-owned properties,
Well,
like you
I
said.
just gave you
And then
some,
just say a list,
Just give us some.
I understand that, but
Yeah.
we need to,
I don't know of any place other than the town library, which has a very limited space, although I guess The other meeting room there is full of books though right now, isn't it? The other-
Yeah, but it's only one side. There's room for, I mean.
That's,
there-
well, there's that space, there's the fire station. I don't know of any other town property unless you want to do it outside in the middle of June.
What if we just put in at town office or town approved meeting place, and then the town comes up with what is an approved meeting
Oh, okay.
space?
I'll buy that. Good weasel words. And then someone's gonna provide that listing of approved spaces, right?
I think that's what I said.
Yeah,
Okay. Meeting places. Okay, good.
Okay,
Okay,
next.
next. Okay. There was another, this is under 7.1, down where it says, blah, blah, blah. Notice of meeting shall be posted at the Lyman Town Hall on the town's all official town digital meeting place at least one working day before scheduled meeting. I was going to add a sentence there. Requests to town employees for posting board meetings shall be made in a timely manner because that's what the comment was. Because the comment was requests should be made in a timely manner so that the town manager or their designee can post notifications. So if that is helpful, I would think we could add that in there very easily. And that would just make it clear that the planning board administrative assistant or whatever, we shouldn't be asking the day before, or we should give as much notice as possible. I mean, obviously, I hope that's been happening now. I don't have any control over that, but I'm hoping that's happening now.
I'm okay with that.
You okay with that?
so in that same paragraph, notice a meeting shall be posted at the Lyman Town Hall and on the town's all official town digital media platforms. So that sentence right there
Want to fix it?
needs something.
What does it need?
Well, I think we could
Take the
take
word all
out
out?
the towns
Okay, yeah. just
and
say,
on all
the-
official town digital
Got it.
media
I'll do that.
platforms. Okay.
And on all official town digital media platforms. I think, town got in there too many times.
Yeah, I think that's.
Must have been the person who wrote this. Oh, he's a bad person. Okay, moving right along. 11.1. Oh, yeah. This is amendments. The way it reads now, the bylaws, referring to this wonderful document that we're talking about, may be amended by a majority vote of the board at a regularly scheduled meeting. Okay, I was going to add to that and then say, comma, and then submitted to the select board for approval in accordance with the town charter,
I think that's good.
because that was sort of the comment.
Sure.
Okay, what else? Oh, yeah, almost there. How much else? I don't think you really had any comment. There was one about attachment 3, notification or
Under the
notification of minimum time requirements. Let me just quickly explain. This is, I tell you, it's a pain in the neck in a sense, because there's different requirements depending on what type of hearing and that you're talking about, whether it's, a site plan review, a subdivision, contract zoning, and then of course, zoning amendments. They have different requirements. So the purpose of the attempt here was to take those requirements and be as conservative to the point that we don't be in non-compliance with any of those. And for example, the ordinance requires that abutters be notified 10 days in advance by certified mail of public hearings. And the lawyer in a case that we had that went to Superior Court and came back, said that it would be preferable, I'm not sure his exact words, but basically said you ought to double that to make sure that abutters get notified at least 10 days in advance, because that's what the ordinance requires. So the whole purpose of this was to try to put it all together in one spot. So, because every time we have one of these things, oh, let's see now, what is this? This is a this, so it's got to have this. So put it in one spot, you got something to look at, and then it'll tell you that if you follow this, you're going to be in compliance with state law and the ordinances. So I don't think let's see, what was the issue here? I forgot what the issue was. Oh,
Well, I think you addressed it in 11.1 when you,
oh,
or was it the notice, maybe it was 7, it was one of the ones where you addressed.
oh, about ample time?
Ample time.
Yeah, okay.
'Cause
Yeah, and
I
I,
think the chart's great.
Yeah,
okay, all right, okay. All right.
that's really good.
Well, it's
Yeah,
sort of
it was.
wonderful, actually, but it was just an attempt to try to make it a little better.
So a
And
couple of clarifications on some wording and titles, and they should be able to get back to you, and
well, let me put it this way. If they get back to me, I can easily correct or make the changes and get it to the planning board for their review, and hopefully planning board members will review it and approve it. So
So-
that way we don't spend any more time on it.
Did we,
I can't promise you I'll get it to you by Wednesday.
No, I'm not saying you do. We meet, as you know, twice a month, first and third Wednesdays, one Wednesday or the next Wednesday. Isn't that just another Wednesday?
did we discuss 2.5?
2.5, no, I don't know that we did. Did I gloss over something?
No, I didn't see that it was.
Oh,
It wasn't in the notes, so it's.
2.5, when there's a permanent vacancy on the board, the chair shall request a motion to move the senior alternate to fill the vacancy, and the board shall vote on the same. Now, does the select board want to take over the function of saying who is a permanent member and who is a alternate member? I don't know why the select board should do that, but if the select board wants to do that, I don't know that it is specified in the charter or anything like that, but that's up to the select board to
Well, we just
state that.
recently had a conflict with that, where you had 4 applicants, 3 positions. I think it was 1 alternate, 2 regular, I can't remember. I mean, how does the board decide?
And how do you swear them in? Because they have to take an oath, and their oath, what is written on their oath, they're swearing an oath to be an alternate, or they're swearing
I
an oath.
don't think so.
In another instance also, there was only 1 vacancy, and it was an alternate vacancy at one point. So that person, the board could only assign them as an alternate, and that's how it was written on their oath sheet. So they were sworn on their oath as an alternate member. So it's just.
So,
I don't see why I don't remember being sworn in as a permanent member or an alternate member.
I remember that, the last one, I remember and I know we voted them in as alternate and permanents.
Yeah.
And I do-
Well, what has happened in the past, I mean, whether it's past as prologue or whatever you want to call it. But when I went on the board, I was, of course, an alternate member. That gave me some time to try to learn what was going on as much as possible. And I guess some of it stuck and some of it didn't. But in any case, when somebody who was a permanent member, if they either didn't want to continue or they resigned or whatever, then the practice had been that the next senior alternate would move up to be the permanent member. That way the alternate has a chance to learn what's going on and becomes the permanent member and then we go out and look for members for the planning board, and the new members would be approved as an alternate member. And then that person would learn what's going on and then move up to be a permanent member. And if you were a permanent member and you wanted to be reappointed, in the past, that happened without a discussion versus, permanent versus alternate. In other words, if you're on there as a permanent member, you're reappointed as a permanent member. Now, I didn't realize the words permanent and alternate were in the appointment notification. I mean, I don't recall that, but if you say they were. I don't know.
I just think that the charter states how vacancies are filled. I think that one 2.5 should be removed. 2.6 should become 2.5. That's my opinion.
I don't have a problem with that one way or the other. I mean, it's up to, if that's what the vote or what the desire of the select board is, then since you got to approve these things, then obviously we'll take it out. I would think, but I'm not sure. I'm not talking for the whole planning board. So I don't see anything wrong with the way it is, but I can understand your point. So,
I mean, I think the goal is to have all of our committees and everything following the charter, having this in there when the charter states how it fills vacancies.
well,
The
what does the
planning
charter
board.
say?
Go through the hiring process.
Yeah, so the charter doesn't give specifics on that at all.
Our policy does,
The-
interim policy. for
That-
hiring.
Yeah, you sent me that. Okay. What does it state, please? The interim policy, what does it state? I got a copy back there in my file, I think. I didn't think it was that specific.
Well, it basically outlines that the town manager, seeks applicants. So if there's a vacancy, the town manager would put out there's a vacancy on the board, so it invites people to apply. Hopefully, best case scenario, we would get a few different applicants. And then the town manager would interview and vet those people and give the recommendation to the board. Like I've been doing with some of these committees, I just summarize, they don't even see the application. I summarize, this is my recommendation, and then they go from there.
Well, so right now, if a permanent member gets hit by the beer truck and you got a vacancy there because that's a permanent vacancy, then the planning board would have to go back to the town manager and request that an alternate be appointed as permanent member. Is that what you're saying?
And maybe that would
No,
be
I don't
appropriate,
think- That's where I was
sometimes
going
it
with
says, hey, we would recommend this person go
Yeah.
for it.
That keeps it consistent in the flow of the process.
But I'm still gonna have to put out, there's a vacancy of some.
And then you'd kick in the process of looking for somebody to fill that alternate.
I'm going to recommend deletion of 2.5 since I don't necessarily agree with your comments or process, but it doesn't make any difference.
Okay,
So that's all I got. I think that's more than enough.
thank you.
Well, okay, and listen, again, I'm not in the bring me a rock syndrome. You know what that is, of course. I think I explained that before. So this is my newest rock here. I just brought it. I got your comments. When I get the remaining comments, I will take this rock and make it into a better rock, and that'll be it. I'm not going to go back and forth, and back and forth, because that's wasting my time, and I think your time. So is that fair or not? Am I being,
I think
That's why we invited you
I
here.
think that's.
okay, I just, in the past, I played that game, on business and things, and when someone is not specific, then you can waste a lot of time, and I don't want to waste my time. Thank you very much.
I don't want to waste your time either, so.
I don't have that much left.
Well, I hope you do.
You never know.
Okay.
Thank you.
Franchise ordinance, revision discussion from public hearing.
So you don't have to decide on it tonight. If you want to discuss it more, it's up to you. But figure we did the public hearing process. And then what I did was I added what Tony had recommended, which was under definitions. He mentioned, we have a couple definitions in there. He mentioned adding the video service provider.
Mhm.
So him and I went back and forth a little bit, because he basically pulled it out of the language, some legislation that's going through. So this matches that. Because a lot of cable companies are switching to streaming services, and so adding that definition in there makes it so they can't, try to back out of some agreement or something, because they fall under a different category.
Well, I believe at that last meeting, we said that, after that, we would come to this meeting to vote on the ordinance, which would then kick us into the next phase would be the franchise, which that's when it gets into the finances.
Mhm.
So, this has been kicked down the road so many times, I don't see what we need to kick it. After a public hearing and we've made the changes.
That was the only, like, adding that video service provider? Was that the
Yeah,
only?
that was the only
Okay.
recommendation he stated. Other than that, because Brad Moran had come up with this, and his recommendation was to keep it pretty simple.
Mhm.
It really
Yep.
just mirrors state statutes for the most part. And then in the agreement, the terms will be a little stronger in there. And Tony did make a recommendation, I think, in talking with some of the folks that had brought up their concerns. I can't remember, he's mentioned something about putting in the agreement, like regarding liquidated damages, and he did have a few suggestions for the franchise agreement, so I think we'll probably go back to visiting that. We'll re-review it. We might have to possibly renegotiate some things, I don't know, but we're gonna go back to that agreement process and look at what needs to be changed.
Yeah, I did. He did say, check that you have liquidated damages in the agreement. I make a motion to accept the cable television ordinance.
a second?
Well, I've read this thing like 15 times, and I'm reading it again.
We've been around for, kicked around, what, 7 years?
I'm gonna second it for discussion.
Okay. Discussion.
Why do we absolutely have to have this? Is this the only company that does business in our town?
The ordinance, so the ordinance doesn't have anything to do with the company. And in the agreement, it's not exclusive. So you're allowed to have other franchise agreements with other companies. This ordinance, it was Tony's recommendation because he's been our consultant for X amount of years.
Yep.
And, he actually, wanted to put in place, I think, stricter ordinances, but the problem you run into, and he used, I think it was Sebago was an example, that the franchise company was refusing to go into agreement with them because of their ordinances, and we kind of got into that debacle a little bit too. So they wanted the agreement and the ordinances to sort of mirror each other. And that's why Brad had come up with, sticking with primarily state statute type language. And so if you sign an agreement and then enact an ordinance, the ordinance doesn't apply to that agreement. You'd be putting the cart before the horse. So it would be ordinance enactment and then go into agreement so that you have an ordinance that can help protect the town and hold. I think the purpose of it is to kind of hold these cable companies sort of, to their standards and stuff, so. And then when we get into the franchise agreement part, that's up for more
I think
debate.
the franchise, when we get to the franchise, it's gonna be the bigger debate. And
Okay.
and what have you, and we can't
No,
get into that.
I-
unless we have it. No, it's
I
great.
missed that explanation at some point, and so
Yeah.
I wanted some clarification. I'm fine now.
All in favor?
Aye. Now that TV land can see me again, because the camera is right when somebody's standing at the podium, I go away, like I could make little finger puppets and stuff, but I don't.
Okay, department committee reports, anything, road commissioner? Fire chief? He's not here, obviously, but, I saw Vicky there with the, open house they had the other night was
They did a
phenomenal.
fantastic
Yeah.
job.
The,
I couldn't say enough good things.
well attended, very well attended, and very well organized, and the, it's been on Facebook of the school, them going to the school. One of the, I don't know what her rank is, I don't know much about firefighter, but, one of the members, Sandy, as her name, I guess, she's the one that's the big organizer of it, has done a terrific job. And at school, it was a big success at the school, so that was really good. And we also, it just happened this week, we had I forgot which engine out there, the old fire engine that's been out back, we're trying to sell it.
Oh, yeah, number
And they put it
84.
out for bid with a minimum bid of 10,000. They got one come in that was way low, and we said no. But then we had also, the chief was also notified that Leamington was down a truck. And they were in search of one, that theirs was like in 1988, and things had gone wrong, wasn't worth fixing. So they offered us $7,500, and we approved that, so we sold that. So that's good. So that won't have to sit out there in the weather and be put to good use in another town. So really successful there, so,
That's good. It's a
yeah.
blessing all the way around. I did go to the community event, and I think we have an amazing community. The turnout blew my mind. So many people came out, and everybody was happy, and the kids were happy, and they had so many different things to do and see, and that the kids could interact with. and that I couldn't say enough nice things about it.
Yep.
That's another warm fuzzy for the town of Lyman as far as I'm concerned, and Dayton. I thought that was phenomenal.
It was also nice to see some of the stuff that they bought with the ARPA money. One being the chest compressors for CPR. It was pretty amazing what those things can do. And their SCBAs, and then they did the Jaws of Life. I didn't realize, I thought they used ARPA money, but they didn't. They used part of their budget money for the Jaws of Life. They're all battery operated now, believe it or not, and pretty powerful. And since I witnessed an accident that I went on a run with the chief a year and a half or so ago, and they had a guy pinned in a car, and they were trying to get the generator going in order to power the compressor to power and they had a hard time getting in. He goes, "We need to get these," and they finally did. I tell you, this fire department is pretty much state of the art. The chief has done a phenomenal job. So yeah, we should be very proud of this fire department.
To my understanding, the Goodwin's Mills Fire Relief Organization, is that the proper name of it? The ones that have the old truck and they do
Oh,
fundraising and
yeah.
they do stuff. The Relief Association, they voted and took money that they had received from Morris St. Clair and bought all the student activity books and teaching
Oh.
units with that, and they had a board up in there with Morris and named some of his things, so he's living on
Yeah, he
there.
is. Yep,
But just the whole thing, I just thought was really well done.
it was. All right,
I'll put the pom-poms away now.
CEO. Evan, you're all set? All is well in CEO land?
It's busy.
It's busy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see your car here late and early. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Monthly report from the tax clerk.
She told me that we were gonna get a few this time.
Well, yeah, we should really hit us. Let's see here. September, August, September. So this is July, August, and September. So the September real estate and personal property tax payments collected, $2,883,687.67. Excise tax, year-to-date, excise collection is $358,581.13.
Thank you for everyone buying new cars.
Yeah, and paying your taxes.
Yeah,
Yes.
thanks for that report. We also have our treasurer's expense report, which is always posted. With lots of numbers. Moving right along. Town manager. Nothing new? Okay. Other, are you coming up to, is it committees?
We have stuff coming up.
Okay,
Can you say what they are?
sure.
All right. So
This
we
is for
have,
Bungada?
this is, Bungana is trying to schedule their next meeting for the beginning of November, because we've already started looking at grants to potentially help us, and we have some deadlines. Again, Lindsay, how many? We have 130 responses to go through, which is super amazing. Hopefully we'll still get more for people's ideas for the park, what they want to see. So we're going to start funneling through those and try to develop a plan, of course, this long-term plan, but where there's grants that we actually can get to do some of these programs, kind of start steering in that direction. Comprehensive plan is meeting for the first time on the 30th. Is after the quarterly budget committee meeting on the 30th. So we're going to have a quick meeting with Jeanette, do the quarterly review that we had started to do, and we have put, that's in the charter that says that we're to do that. And then we're going to have the first comprehensive plan meeting after that, just to launch it off and get going. Because I know, one of the things I think we're going to look at is the land parcels that were on the list was part of it, because, to get back the money for their cemetery committee, the 60,000 that the residents had voted to do. So hopefully we can help move that along for the board as well. That's it.
So to piggyback on the Bunganut, we walked it last Friday
Yep.
with,
Oh,
YMCA. With the YMCA, Rusty, Lindsay, and myself with Matt, Willette, and they did a really nice job cleaning up compared to what I saw last year.
Good.
So we did talk about I know it was a question that the charcoal,
Yeah.
that's from leftover from the storm, so we were gonna get a hold of Dave to get rid of those. Riley? We're gonna,
Well, there need to be some collaboration with like the use of a tractor.
yeah. 'cause they
Yeah,
have the
they're
cement-
heavy.
Yeah, they have the cement,
I'd volunteer to use my tractor to extract those things, if y'all would waive all the requirements.
I
'Cause
thought
I'm
we
not,
waived
I'm
that
not,
already
I'm not
once.
getting paid.
I thought we waived that already once.
You have all those requirements to waive
Yeah.
for insurances and
Yeah.
whatnot, and I just, I don't, if you waive all that stuff, I'd be happy to volunteer my time and effort and go get those out of there.
Okay.
Uh,
Working
But
with
I need
Lindsay.
permission
Yeah.
to do that
Yeah.
from the board, so.
Awesome. Yeah, so a little bit, we're going to kind of list all the problems that we saw that were of concern. Maybe like the sand pit for next year needs to be sifted for glass and metal for, like we found was over there for the kids before that gets going for the year. So we'll try to like tick point the stuff and compare it to the surveys we get. And again, hopefully we'll have a nice little presentation soon to do.
Thank you. I guess the only, I'll just keep it under committees and departments is the transfer station. I went up there Sunday to take my trash up there, but they're doing a heck of a job up there. If anybody's been up there to see it. With all the pads being put in, and I have a feeling that our employees are gonna feel a lot safer, and it'll be a lot safer for them and our townspeople going up there not tripping. So, okay. New business. Discussion regarding town clerk's position.
Okay. So since the town meeting we had early October, we have the added funds, the 60,217 for town clerk position. So I've been looking at kind of creating a job description for that. But the only thing is, if I want to make this a full-time position with the salaries we have, it's calculating to minimum wage. Unless we make it a part-time position, then I can increase the hourly rate because all the benefits and stuff added. So,
Okay.
do you have any questions on that, or?
If my memory serves me correct, it was a part-time position, and what made it a full-time position was the person was also the deputy tax collector, and they shared duties in that. When there was two people in the office that way, and that's what made it a full-time position, and that was all like, I don't know, 10 or 12
Yeah.
years ago.
Well, the article question said separate, distinct town clerk.
Yes.
So I didn't add any other
Well-
titles.
Right, but what I was gonna get at is if it's a standalone town clerk job,
Yeah.
I don't know that it's a full-time job, although there probably are full-time times of the year when, like, around elections and whatnot,
Yeah.
that would require more hours.
Well, I did look at the job duties, like I started pulling, because I think you're right, I think it ebbs and flows. And then I think, if you add some more titles in there, it can beef up the hours a lot more. But when I looked at like prior transactions, before we even had an admin clerk, the town clerk did like 26% of all the transactions at the counter. And then they did log their hours for elections, which is helpful because it gives us an idea. And so like the most amount of hours I have is like 350. So it can ebb and flow. I think times come to an election, they're going to be a lot busier, but they might have to kind of wear their election hat a lot more often than any other hat. But it still only equates to about like 18% of like a full-time hourly throughout the year. So I'm trying to, create a job description that's going to work for the office. And I think, if we're going by the language of separate, distinct, standalone town clerk, I don't have enough duties to make that position a full-time position. So we would have to like consolidate it with some other titles. And, you know, I will say like, there was some sentiment at the town meeting, you know, of, you know, a contingency plan and stuff like that. And so it may make sense to consider alternate things like having an office administrator who could also be your town clerk. So you get the best of both worlds. You get your town clerk position and then you get someone who could fill in for me if like if I get hit by the beer truck.
Oh, don't know.
If I get hit by the proverbial beer truck, you know, you have someone to, you know, help and assist in that role. So I think it's something to look at, and maybe trying to figure out ways to make it work.
I think that the people spoke and we heard, and I don't think we have to rush. And being pragmatic and thorough is a good thing. We're working towards it. We don't have to do it tomorrow.
No, and
So,
I didn't put it on the agenda to like, for you guys to make a decision, but just start
No,
that conversation piece.
I like this, and
Thank you. All right.
Is it possible to just ask a question? It's up to the board. Step up.
The amount that you just gave, Lindsay, did that also include the money that was in from the previous town meeting?
So we can't merge article to article. The 19,000 from one article can't be transferred to another article, and the only governing body that has authority to do that are the voters at town meeting. So the way, if I go by the article question, it's appropriating an amount from surplus. It does not move it to any other account. So this is a separate account, and we have 60,000 for it.
for this year, for this fiscal year
Yes.
that we're in right now.
Yep.
Okay. Approval for electrical work at the transfer station. We had a little issue happen during the construction up there. And they discovered some underground wires that, when installed, whenever it was. in-
They're like,
What's that?
10 years ago.
10 years ago,
Yes.
yeah. Really not up to code. And so they uncovered it, and luckily, nobody was hurt. It was a live wire, and nobody was hurt, but we have to fix it.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, so I think I gave you a list of a couple different accounts. There's the contingency account, so there's 2,500 in there, but then there's also, it just doesn't cover the whole thing, but there's the reserve account. So the only way for me to approve spending out of the reserve accounts has to be a board approval. So it'd be up to you guys. You can either, wipe out the contingency 2,500 and then use 2,500 out of one of the reserves. You can leave the contingency alone, figure out which reserve you want to take it out of, but I'll need your guys' approval to kind of get that going. And the guy doing the digging and earthworks and stuff up there, I think, he was pretty open to, helping us like dig it because his machine and equipment and stuff is already there. So he's willing to kind of collaborate a little bit with us, which helped keep the cost down for the expenses on the repairs. So I just need board approval, which account.
Do we have to put that out to bid though, the amount, $5,000?
No,
No.
well, anything goes out to bid over 10,000.
Oh, it's 10,000, I
And then-
couldn't remember if it was 10 or 5.
So it was over 5, and Marcel was, helped us talk him down to 5, so we didn't have to get like multiple quotes. Because the longer we wait on it, once the earthworks guy goes, I don't know if he's gonna wanna come back. He's been working with us, because he's already there, all his equipment's right there.
I think
He's giving us
personally, it makes sense to take it out of the transfer station revenue reserve,
that would be,
because capital improvement reserve, we could use that as well, but,
One thing, I didn't put the note in there, but one thing to consider with the transfer station reserve is we started this, I'm not quite sure exactly when, might have been the last year, but it was for the compactors, because compactors are gonna poop the bed pretty soon, and they're several $100,000 a piece. So we started building that reserve account. Hopefully we can get enough money in a couple of years to get a compactor and start working towards that. So you can certainly take it out of the transfer station reserve, just be aware, like we set that aside for the compactors, and then, maybe we take it out this year, but we add a little more money than we normally would to make up for the fall. I don't know, something to consider.
Well, one or the other, I don't think we should take it out of the contingency fund, it's more than a contingency to replace that, and so out of one or the other of the reserve accounts.
Well,
think-
my concern about the capital improvement, we've talked, I don't know, we've talked, oh, take that capital, a bunch of different things. I don't think we've spent any of it yet, but I know it's been discussed, and so, it's a $5,000 hit here. I agree with you to go to the transfer, and maybe make up for it, next year if we can, or whatever, but it's 5,000.
We have to do it.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It's just which account you can get out of.
And I would go for the capital improvement, not the transfer station. Only because I've heard Morris say in the past how they set up, like it was set up that the money that the transfer station took in for like the metal, the mattresses, that was there, and that was supposed to go back into the running of the transfer station. But I would hear him say at budget meetings that money was always being pulled for something else at the transfer station. So that's why I would go with the capital improvement and leave the transfer station for those compactors.
good argument. Yeah.
Just out of curiosity, can you tell me where this was? Because all that underground was done and inspected by the town inspector.
10 years ago?
Yes.
From what I could see, I didn't walk in with anybody when I was up there Sunday. I saw the conduit or the wires coming out of the office going down, and it went to the salt shed.
Yeah, I believe.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
we
it's
didn't
from
do
one
that, I'm
building to
sorry,
another.
nope. We
Okay,
did all the rest of the stuff.
okay,
We changed the building and they just didn't put the stuff up for the building because we tore the other building down. Because
got it.
all the rest of the stuff was all inspected and done.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, this was, who knows, may have been even longer than 10 years ago, I don't know.
No, we did the rehab
Oh,
then,
okay.
back
I guess
there.
Morris was kind of horrified. Not Morris,
Marcel.
Marcel. Yeah. Yes, sorry.
So, I mean, I think Amber makes sense because look how much money we've had to dump in the transfer station from ARPA. It's because it got that far behind in upkeep. And maybe with the money in the reserve account for the transfer station, it can maintain maintenance. So you're not looking at $200,000 that people are in danger of being hurt working there. I mean, really, that was a lot of money to bring that up.
Yep.
Just, that wasn't like huge improvements either. That was just
No,
bringing it up to snuff. Being on the budget committee, it's so easy to go, oh, we'll just move that, but capital improvement on this one, just because transfer station's taken such a hit, and they're trying to self-fund a little bit here.
Yep,
And
okay.
it defeats the purpose.
hopefully everybody heard that I went against my rules of having people coming up to the,
Sorry,
shame on me, I apologize.
I can come up and state it again if you would like.
That's it, I was gonna give you a sticker, but,
Sorry. So, those are some good
oh,
conversations.
we have to fix it.
Yep.
So make a motion that we take the $5,000 out of capital improvement reserve.
I will second that.
Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Good discussion. All right, and then, since I hacked up the beginning of this about the cemetery committee, and something else from them, we have a letter from the cemetery committee saying there was a accident or damage on September 2nd. In the middle of the night, a pickup truck drove directly into the cemetery. It's unknown if there was any insurance from the owner of the truck to cover expense of repair of this cemetery. The Lyman Cemetery Committee would like to set up.
I have that highlighted because that's got some confusion in that sentence too, so.
Is seeking donations from anyone able to help with the repair of the cemetery, and most importantly, 2 of the headstones. The veteran in the cemetery is John Burbank, served with John Paul Jones in the Revolutionary War. He died 3 October 1843, age 91 years, 6 months. His wife Anna died 3 October 1843 at the age of 84 and 6 months. The main veterans will replace his broken stone, but they are not able to cover the costs of the wives of both John Burbank nor Taylor. They've gotten a quote of $2,600 per stone. We need 2, which does include the engraving. A dependent of one of the veterans is offering $500 to help with the cost. The Lyman Cemetery Committee requests to set up an expendable fundraiser for this particular purpose, named the Lyman Cemetery Committee Headstone Replacement Fund.
Yep, so we just need approval. So Jeanette had worked with them on setting this up. This is similar to what we did with like Morris's fund for his bench, except I don't think we're gonna go through GoFundMe because that was sort of a little bit of a pain. So we will take donations directly here.
Okay.
And then it'll be put aside specifically for that. And I think the cemetery committee has done a really great job looking into this issue. So it had come about from a property owner who had explained, I think somebody drove up on it was like a hit and run situation, unfortunately. And so they've been looking into like DOT, trying to put a guardrail over there to prevent accidents like that happening again. And they've worked really hard to make a lot of headway. They've obviously contacted some people. They got $500 in the kitty already to try to restore this. And I think it's pretty cool.
So that was a hit and run?
I believe it was, yeah.
Because the skid mark went straight off 111, right in the middle of the cemetery. And
So
I wasn't aware that it was a hit and run,
I'm not
but
100% sure on that, but that's kind of
I
what it is.
also think that if there's any way to find that out, if there's an accident report or anything that lists that driver, that we make a claim on their insurance.
Well, in the letter here, it kind of gets me that they might know who it is. It's unknown if there is an insurance from the owner of the truck to cover expenses of repair. So it sounds like they may know
If
who it
it's
is.
unknown,
Yeah.
it should be a known.
I would
Should
like
be
to
a
make it
no.
known, yes.
Yeah,
But,
yeah.
but in the meantime, because it'd be nice to be reimbursed, but I don't, if people want to give to that, I don't want to stop anyone
No.
from having a giving heart. That's-
Yeah,
Well, I mean, you could be battling and duking it out with an insurance
For a
claim
while.
for a long time, and I think, they kind of want to move on it and get it restored.
So just to
Yeah.
finish here, they put it in bold and italic, to create an expendable fund for the purpose of replacing and repairing headstones at a cemetery located on Route 111 that sustained damage as a result of a crash on September 2nd, 2023. Any funds collected over and above the purchasing and installation costs will be used for any additional landscaping and some sort of fencing to alert and protect both drivers and the headstones. To be overseen by the Lyman Cemetery Committee. Yeah.
So if it was an accident, I mean, it's possible it might not have been intentional, but
So,
yeah. But if
Unlike
they
our
have,
gate at Bunganut Park, which is gone.
it's gone,
Somebody ripped it right off the post.
cool.
Yeah. That's good. So do we need a,
yes, so you
Motion on
guys
this?
have to approve, the expendable fund for the purpose of replacing, so I think what they put in there in italics. I would just.
I will
Yeah.
make the motion to create an expendable fund for the purpose of replacing and repairing headstones at a cemetery located on Route 111 that sustained damage as a result of a crash on September 2nd, 2023. And any funds collected over and above the purchasing and installation costs will be used for any additional landscaping and some sort of fencing to alert and protect both drivers and the headstones.
I will second that.
any more discussion? All in favor? Great. There's one of these in the signature package.
Yes. There isn't one.
Anybody have anything else? Amber?
Me.
All right. Do you want to sign these before we go into executive session?
What do you guys?
We'll sign these. Not that many.
So much everything in there, now that you've asked me, now it's making me curious.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, I can look at it.
You can have a sticker, I guess.
Oh. Thank you.
If Rusty was here, I'd give him a sticker, but he didn't show up. He doesn't get one. Did you get one?
He said he hopes this was his last.
Oh, Vicky, thank you. I like that one.
That's my favorite one. What do we got, brakes on this one? Oh, that's stuck under the table. Wow, look at that.
The gate, the hinges get ripped off.
I think so, yeah. Yeah. It was a hard hit, whoever did it. They didn't come out of it without any damage to their vehicle. So we got the franchise ordinance passed. Put that right up there with Oscar Littlefield. Yeah, what's it?
The momentous occasion.
Well, the Oscar Littlefield Road, we started talking about that when I was on the board before.
10 years
So
ago.
that was a little bit more time kicked down the road than this.
Yeah.
I thought I'd come a little closer to, not trying to scare you.
No, don't scare me.
We get the little weeny, teeny.
I know, the big piece, I've always said that, we're gonna get that little signature block there.
It was like that 10 years ago as well.
I think it's the
I don't
program.
see it as well as I used to.
Must be the program that just spits it out
Yep.
for the warrants.
You're right.
All right. Well,
There we go.
we need,
Should be back soon.
Hmm?
Should be back soon.
yeah, I know. We need her vote.
I don't know,
That's so cute. The pumpkins,
See the
the
big
big
pumpkin
pumpkin.
patch?
Oh, I know.
Isn't that great?
My granddaughter over there last weekend, he took pictures of it with her in front of it. They've done a wonderful job over
Yeah,
there.
they really have.
And all the stuff in front of their house, the detail in it. And one of those skeletons, the eyes move, and blink.
Did you see the giant pumpkin at the church?
Yeah.
I know, how could you miss it, right?
Yeah.
I could see that through the trees when I was on my way down here.
All right. Can I make a motion to go into executive session, please?
You can do it for both. Sam's in these first, we don't have to
Okay.
in and out.
Thank you.
Okay, I'll make a motion to go into executive session for 1 MRSA 405A, discussion with town manager regarding personnel matters, and 1 MRSA 405C, discussion regarding the condition or acquisition of real property.
I'll second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Don't do that.
I know.